Hi, welcome again. In this section, we will see how to add and work as a collaborator. Contributing to the project looks like collaborating to the project, but in reality, it is not the collaboration. In collaboration, the owner of the project will add different users as collaborators, and the collaborator will get all the similar and identical rights of the original project. Means collaborator will get the identical rights as that of the owner of the project. If the owner wants to control his project, he can add some rules to his repository for the collaboration so that collaborators will be under some control by the owner of the project. So we will see these two cases, means with and without adding the rules for the collaborators. So let us start our practical work. In order to add a collaborator to the Git repository, either we can use the existing Git repository or we can create a new repository. So here, for the sake of understanding, I'm going to create a new remote repository in user1 GitHub account. And here I will consider user1 as the owner of the Git repository. Means Prithvi dash tech developers as the owner of the Git repository. So let us create a new repository to show how the collaboration works. So right now I am on the desktop and on the user1 GitHub account. So click on the plus icon and then click on create new repository. So give a name for the repository. Here I will give the name as user1 git collaboration. And or a description as this repo is used for collaboration purpose. On Python projects. From user1. So make the description as an accurate description and leave the repository as public and then click on create repository. Now click on the HTTPS link of the newly created Git repository and then copy the link. And then in the local system, means on the local desktop, I'm going to create a new repository with the same name as that of the remote repository. So let us create a new folder using mkdir and then the folder name. User1 git collaboration. Now add the remote repository, means connect the remote repository created in the GitHub account to our local repository in order to push the changes from the local machine. So using the command git remote add origin and then paste the HTTPS link of the remote repository. So we got an error saying that it is not an repository. So let us make this folder as Git repository first. So initialize this folder as a Git repository using the command git init. Now let us change the branch name from master to main using the command git branch -m capital M and then the branch name main. Now add the remote repository to our local machine using the command git remote add origin and then the remote repository link. So now if we check our git repository using git status, here we can see we don't have any files in our git repository and hence we are seeing no commits yet. So let us create some files and make some changes to this local repository on our desktop, means from the local machine using the Visual Studio Code editor. So in order to open our Git repository in our Visual Studio Code editor, use the command code and then dot, because we are already inside the Git repository. Once we open the Visual Studio Code editor, either we can create the files using touch command or we can click on the new file icon inside the Visual Studio Code editor to create a files. Here I am creating two Python files. Now let us check the Git repository using the command git status and also commit the changes with the Git repository using the command git commit. But for the newly created files, we need to add these files to the staging area first. So use the command git add followed by the dot and then make a commit using the command git commit -m and then the commit message. So let us check the log history using gitlab --one line. We have one commit in our Git repository. So let us make few more commits. Using the print statement. Here I'm just making some changes to my local Git repository just for the sake of illustration. And then make one more commit. And then check the log history using gitlab --one line. So totally we have 3 commits, and it is enough to push our local changes to the remote repository. And for this, use the command git put origin main. Sometimes here you may get an error regarding the credentials. So if you get an error regarding the permission denied, please change the credentials in the control panel under manage Windows credentials section and then push the changes. Let us reload the remote repository. So here we can see the recent changes made to our Git repository, that is user1 Git collaboration. Now in order to add a collaborator to this Git project or Git repository, select the repository for which you need to add the Git collaborator. So here I have already on the Git repository, that is user1 Git collaboration, where I would like to add a Git collaborator. So now click on the settings, and here to add a collaborator, click on manage access. For the security purpose, it will ask you to confirm the password. Once we confirm the user's password, means the login credentials, we can see a section called manage access and who has access. So here we can see 0 collaborators have access to this repository. Only you can contribute to this repository. So let us click on invite a collaborator. So here we need to search either by the username, full name or email. So let us search by the username Prithvi Raja 786. So here I am selecting user 2 as the collaborator. So we have seen how to contribute to the Git repository using this user credentials. So for the illustration purpose, I would like to select user 2 as the collaborator. Hence, I am choosing the user 2 username, that is Prithviraja 786. Both these accounts are my accounts, but I am considering user 2 account as the collaborator for user 1 account. So once you select the user, click on add this username to this repository. So here we can see the pending status, and also we can see one has access to this repository, means we have invited one collaborator to collaborate for this project. We can also invite a multiple collaborators to this project and give some rights to different collaborators. So now I will go back to my user 2 account, means Prithviraja 786, and check whether I got an invitation or not. So here I'm switching from desktop to laptop, where I have a user 2 GitHub account. So I request you to use 2 different computers or local machines to work as a collaborator or to practice as a collaborator. Otherwise, you can just watch this section. Now I am on the laptop and I am on the user 2 account. Let us reload this page, and if we click on your repositories, we can see no invitation has been arrived on our GitHub account. If you click on your profile section, here also we can see no invitation section from the user1 account. So what we need to do at this time? So in order to check whether we have got an invitation or not, we need to open our email. So let us open our email. So if we check our user2 account email ID, we can see an invitation from the user1 with the message Prithvi-Tech Developers has invited you to collaborate on the repository user1 Git collaboration. So click on the button View Invitation. In order to see the invitation, you need to log into your user2 account. Sometimes if you get an error like this with the message sign in, then click on sign in button and then sign into your GitHub account, and then you will find an invitation like this. Now either you can accept the invitation or you can decline the invitation. So click on accept invitation. Once we accept the invitation, we can see a message. You now have push access to the user1 Git collaboration repository, and we can directly contribute to this original project without having to fork. Means without having to worry about the forking. So now if we switch back to our user1 account, and if we see the page, still we have a pending invitation. But if we reload our user1 GitHub account, we can see we are now having a one user as the collaborator, means Prithviraja786. The user2 now became a collaborator for user1 GitHub account or GitHub repository, means only for this particular repository. So here we have successfully created a new repository in the user1 account and made a changes to the repository using the Git terminal, and also we have added a new collaborator to our user1 Git repository. Means for the particular repository user1 Git collaboration, we have successfully added a user2 Prithviraja786. So in order to see how to work as a collaborator for this project in our next lesson.